Hi. So I'm coming from my craft closet today. It's just a lot messier than the dining room is. But I wanted to show you a new die I bought from Nicole Silouhette off of AliExpress. It's an album die, and I really like the shape of it. It comes with this really beautiful cover piece, and you can do your page pieces out of this, and it's really nice. It just is pretty. Comes with that. It comes with your spine piece. It comes with a decorative piece for the back of your spine. So here's my spine piece cut and folded. Here's my decorative layer, and it would go on the outside, just like that. This piece makes my flanges for my pages, or hinges, I guess is what most people call them. But once it's cut and folded at the scores, it'll make little bits like this that I can then glue my pages onto. There are 4 layering pieces in various sizes. Oops, excuse me while I grab them all. I should have had them ready for you. 4 different sizes. This big size I'm going to use on my pages, and I'll explain why in a little bit. The second size was perfect for making tags so that I could put tags in between the 2 layers of my pages. And then the 3rd layer down is perfect for decorating those pages and then making a journaling card on the back of the tags. And then there's this littler one, which is really cute. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with it because I really like it. And it also has a little oval, and then it has a frame. So as you can see, it's a very, very pretty die set. When I make my albums, I like to reinforce them so that they're strong. I'm going to show you how I do that using a piece of bookbinding tape. This way my cover and my spine area won't tear away from each other, because nothing's worse than spending hours making an album and having it get messed up. I cut, let's see, 3 of the hinge pieces for this album. I cut, I need 16 of my main color page. I cut more because I tend to sometimes make mistakes. And you need a contrasting paper. And I'll talk about how we fold up the hinge, glue it down, and get the design in just a minute. Okay, so I'm back to show you about how I did this 2-colored page. So what I did was, when I cut out my base color page and I wanted to have that contrast show through, I just took this, because obviously if I cut it out, it's going to cut out the same way with holes in it, and I didn't want that. So I just took a piece of the contrasting color I wanted. I just glued it on, kind of butting up the edges because I'm lazy to cut. There. I just glued it on, and then I just cut around it to get that same shape. And so when it dried, it looked like that. Okay. One thing I do want to tell you about this die, this one in particular, is I have a, what's it called? A tangerine die cutting machine, which is like, I think probably the best. And it had a heck of a time trying to cut this, because I don't think that when they manufactured it, I think this one was probably, not the best. But I had to use shims, and I had to run it through the die cutter like 3 or 4 times to get it to pop out all the little holes. If I didn't do that, I got something that looked like this. Do you see where you can tell there's very uneven pressure? And that was consistent throughout the dye. Another problem I had, if I only ran it through once, was I got this beautiful embossed pattern, which is really nice. However, sometimes some of the holes would still pop out. And then I would have areas, once again, it's that uneven pressure, that didn't cut right. And so I'd have to go back in with my scissors and trim that off, which isn't a big deal. But, you know, when you have to do it all the time, it's kind of disappointing. So there's another one. So I used shims. I just used a piece of cardstock. I folded it over twice, so it was double. And then I laid it on top of my die with the paper I wanted to cut below, put my cutting plates on, and then just ran it through several times to get rid of that. And that seems to have worked. Now what I'm going to do on the inside pages, because, see, here we go. Here's one where some of the little pretty eyelet, I don't know what they're called, but they're really pretty, spaces came out. And I don't want that on my inside pages. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take one of the layering dies, the biggest one in this case, and I'm going to cut a piece of designer paper cardstock, and I'm just going to lay it right over the top, and that's going to take care of that. And then you're not going to see anything there. So this does not bother me in the least. Okay, so this is the piece that you're going to use for your hinge system. And it is this die right here. And it puts score lines on for you. Of course, mine matches my book. I just did this one for contrast. So you'll see there is a small section, two larger sections, a small section, two larger sections, and a small section. This makes for 2 hinge pieces. So I'm just going to fold up in between the 2 larger sections, fold my smaller section, come over to this side, fold up, you can give it a good press. This is what I have so far. Then I am going to fold up on that smaller piece. I'm doing this so fiddly. Okay, fold up on the smaller piece. Then I'm going to make a mountain out of my 2 bigger pieces. And fold up on that last little piece. So this is the shape I'm going to have. I'm going to spread glue right in between here and right in between here, because I want to glue these little mountains together. You can use whatever kind of glue you want. Some people like tape. I just don't like tape because I figure if I put this much time in my life making in a mini album, that I just don't want it to fall apart in a couple years. So see, I've spread glue on one side. If you want to spread it on both sides, go for it. I think one is sufficient. Okay, so I spread glue on each of my thick or longest pieces there, and I'm merely going to pinch them closed, run my finger there, and make sure that if any glue seeps out, I'm just running my finger down along it, and then I'm giving it a good press to spread the glue out inside and to hold it in place. I think the glue also kind of reinforces the hinge a little bit. Some people put Mylar in their hinges, in their hinging system, and that's really good because you don't have to worry about your hinges breaking then. I don't do that. I probably should. Okay, so when it's dry, this is what you're going to have. Okay. You're going to make 3 of these. I made 3 of these. Then I glued them together. And to glue them together, I just took one of my skinny little sides, butted it up right next to one of my hinge systems. See right in there? I just glued it together. And that's all I did. I glued 3 of them together. Once I had the 3 of them glued together, it would be just this piece, but longer. It would look longer. I took it, and on my, oh dear, my spine piece that I cut out right here, I just centered it on, because the spine piece is taller than your hinges. Just centered it on, glued it in. Don't glue over these flaps. You need these flaps to attach, because you're going to attach it to your book, to your cover pages. Okay? Once those were glued on and dried, I then decided to do my inside cover. And the reason I'm doing my inside cover first is because I'm going to use this bookbinding tape to reinforce everything, and I want to have it hidden. And I'm going to hide that ugly piece of tape when I go ahead and I cover everything. Actually, I'm going to use this when I cover everything, and I'm going to cover my spine first, and then I would glue that page on. So let's do that for the second page. Let me show you how I did that. The bookbinding tape I use, I just got off of Amazon, and it's really not too expensive. So I'm just going to cut a piece, kind of eyeball measuring, and it does not have to go to the very end of your hinge system. Matter of fact, it's probably a little better if it doesn't. It'll be a little easier to hide. So I'm just cutting off a length of tape. I'm fighting my scissors for it. Okay. I am going to take it. This is actually maybe a little too small. So I'm going to use 2 pieces. It doesn't quite go to the end. But I'm going to just come over here at the back, about halfway on the tape. Lay it down, smooth it out. This is what it looks like on the front. This is my section that, you know, bends up. So I'm just going to make sure that I smooth the tape out. And I am going to use another piece of tape just because that does look really skimpy to me. But you don't really have to. The whole idea is just to keep the book from falling apart on you. Oops. Okay. So there it's taped. It doesn't look beautiful. I don't care. All right. Then I'm going to come in with my back cover. Oh, and I guess it really doesn't matter what piece I use because I am going to fix all the little holy parts. And I'm going to take this and my little flappy-doo that folds up like that, I'm just going to butt it up to the edge of the flap. I'm not going to go over my fold line at all. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball measure and see if I can't get them kind of even. This tape, once it sticks, it sticks. Oh, fiddlesticks. If you wanted to, you could probably be more precise than me. Oh, you know what? I'll just lay it on top of the other one. Make a little fingerprint on the back. There it goes. And then I'm just folding it down. Okay, and then I'm just kind of checking for accuracy, make sure that, you know, it's more or less even. All right, I like that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the front side because, you know, there's no tape there on the front inside. So right in between that little tiny wing piece, I don't know what to call it, flap, wing piece, whatever, I'm going to put some glue and I'm going to glue that back cover on there. And it doesn't look like this is going to be the best glue job in the universe. Today I'm using the Nouveau Deluxe adhesive, but a lot of the time I use the art glitter glue. Art glitter glue does dry a little bit quicker. I think it's got a lower water content. Okay, once I've got that glued down so that it doesn't lift up, I'm just going ahead and putting my crease in there a little bit stronger. Okay, I'm more or less happy with that. Now, the next step I did was I want to have a piece on my, I like my spines to be very strong. So I wanted to have a piece on my spine that would just cover exactly, but I'm kind of spoiled and I wanted a longer overlay than this. So all I did was I just measured this piece, excuse me, and I added a little extra so that I would have 1/2 inch wings, because I just want to make sure that when I put it on, it covers more of the tape and it looks a little nicer, so nothing's going to be exposed. So now I'm going to glue this on. And you get to watch me. So much fun. All right, and I'm just getting glue to the edges. You know, you don't want to go nuts with your glue, but you don't want to be too skimpy. See, that's about how much glue I put on. Then I'm going to come into my spine, and I'm just going to lay this right on top of my spine, matching up my creases and my bottom and my top. And then I'm just going to put it down on my board, and I'm going to press in between each of my hinges to make sure I'm getting good adhesion. And I'm sorry you can't see that, but I'm not the best with the camera yet. Right, see? So we've got that little bit of ugliness covered up. Then I'm going to come back and I'm just going to refold my score lines. And the glue is lifting off a little bit, so it just means it's too wet. And I just need to go ahead and press it down. Maybe give it a minute to dry. But that's fine, because then I can explain the next step. The next step is just going to be putting on my covers. And remember, these are the pieces that I used with the contrasting piece in between. This is going to make my cover 3 layers thick, and they're going to be nice and firm. They're going to be firmer than the pages. I also did a decorative panel for the back, and I just did it opposite. I cut a piece of the lighter color using this die, and then once I had that piece cut out, I just took this layering die that comes in the set right here, and I just laid that on top, and I just cut it out, and then I glued the 2 pieces together, and that is what I got. And I rather like that. And so that will be glued right there. All right, so let's go ahead and see how these are doing. They seem to be okay. All right, so now I'm going to glue on one of my front pages, and I'm just going to match my edges when I do it so that everything will be flush. And then that piece of black hideous tape is going to be hidden, and no one's ever going to see it. And you're going to be the only one that knows that you put it there. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that, and I'll come back when I've got the covers on. Okay, so I did my putting together my cover off camera. And as you can see, I have my beautiful front cover, my spine. I decorated, well, I didn't decorate. I just put the decorative panel on it. And then my back cover. And so now I'm going to do my pages. And the way that I did that was I just took one of the page pieces that I cut out, and then I took the biggest decorative panel die, cut it out, and then I just glued it on top like that. And I did that for each page that I'm going to have for this book. I also made a couple of decorative elements that I'm going to glue on the pages. One of them is this little booklet. Not really a booklet, but whatever. I'm going to hide a picture in there, maybe 2 pictures, and it's held on by a magnet. And I did this by cutting this decorative shape twice to give it some stability, gluing it together, and then of course using that oval in the middle, and then sandwiching a magnet. I haven't glued this on all the way yet, but I just put that there because I was a poor planner and decided to put the magnet on at the last thing. So yep, that's why that's there. I also made my tags, and the way that I did my tags was I used the second smallest shape for the outside of my tag, and then I used the smallest shape, and I cut designer series paper. Oh, I lied to you, I'm so sorry. I used the second largest for my tag, and then I used the second smallest for the inside of the tag with the designer series paper, and then I also used it on the back. And that way I could journal here if I wanted, or I can add an additional picture, or maybe I'm going to do some collage. I don't know what I'm going to do here on this, but I can do whatever I want. And then I'm going to look for some ribbon that's similar or coordinating in color with my collection. And I'm going to use my mini attacher and just staple it on there. I also cut a couple of little frames out. I may or may not use these. I'm not quite sure yet. And then using the same die, which is the second smallest die, I made a little waterfall element for one of my pages. And once again, I did use a magnet. This time I did better planning. You won't see it anywhere. So there's my little safety thing, and then this is my waterfall. I really don't know why it's called a waterfall, but anyway. So there's that, and I like that. I thought that was really cute. And this is a fun way to make use of these decorative elements that are included in the die set. So now I have to glue on my pages. The way I'm going to do this, and I'm going to try to show you, but I don't guarantee that I'm going to show you well, is I'm going to take my first 2 pages, and then I am going to figure out what's my front and my back. When I glued on my covers, I don't really think I did a great job of matching them up. Although they look fine, but when I measured with a ruler, they weren't quite fine. So I'm going to glue on one of my pages onto this first hinge. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to lay my page down and then kind of lay the hinge on top of it, line it up with my cover so that everything is more or less equally spaced and it'll look good. So I have put my page in. I'm just making sure that, you know, the tops and the bottoms align. Checking it out. Yep, that seems to be it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my glue, and I think in this case I'll use the Art Glitter glue because it has less water in it, so it'll dry quicker. And that's what I need. I used Stampin' Up! Paper for my album here. I used the coordinating cardstock, and it's kind of thick. But I used what coordinated with the collection, and the collection I used is, I think, called Peach or Peaches or something like that. All right, so I'm just going to glue this down, and I'm going to hold it. Some people glue their pages together and then they slide them on the hinge. I like that too, but I don't know. Today, this is the way I'm going to do it. So I'm going to hold this for a second. And then I'm going to make pockets for my pages because I did make the tags, remember, and I do want to have a place to put my tags. So I think what I'm going to do is when I attach the next page, which is not that page, it's this page. When I attach the next page, I am going to put glue down, of course, the side that's going to attach to the hinge. I'm going to put glue at the bottom, and I'm going to put glue at the side, and nothing at the top and nothing in the center, because I want to have that space for my tag. So I'm just going to let it adhere another second or two. Because like I said, this is very thick cardstock. I think it's close to 110 pounds. So I'm going to put glue on that hinge, and I am so sorry you can't see it. My paper is not contrasting very well, but the hinge is glued to one side of my page, and then I put glue on the other side of the hinge. Then I'm going to put glue along the bottom and up the side. As close to the edge as I can. I find that if I put it on the faux stitching line, that's close enough. This album set is really beautiful. All right, here we go. I'm going to glue her down. So I'm just lining up my pages so that it is perfectly aligned with its mate. And once again, I do not want it to go over the, the fold line on the hinge. Lining it up is going to take me a minute because it's not quite cooperating. Thanks to the thickness of the paper. But the thickness of the paper really does make it quite nice once everything is together. So just know that you may have to fiddle a little bit with your pages to get them down. And then I'm just with my finger burnishing the edges. And then I'm also going to come in with some little clothespins, Dollar Tree, and just clamp my pages together because they're wanting to go off into every direction. Now, I am not going to glue the next page in until I am sure that this one is secure. because I'm going to be manipulating the book a lot, and I need to use my paper clips. Not paper clips, what are they called? Clothespins. Again. All right, so I'm going to do the rest of the pages off camera because I know you really couldn't see too much as it was, but some people have done beautiful videos on the Hinge system and how to glue the pages in there. So maybe I can find a couple links below if you're interested. All right, I'll do the rest of this off camera, and then I will come back and show you the semi-finished results. Thank you. I'm back with the finished album. I know I said I was just going to do a little bit of decorating, but once I started, I couldn't quit. So this is what I've done to my front cover. I made a closure for my album using those decorative pieces once again, and it's just held in place with a magnet, which is right there. So if you notice, this just goes right on there, and it's a little oval. I had these wonderful, I really got lucky with the color combinations I used. I had these little, I don't know, fake wax seals that come from, oh, what is her name? Maggie Holmes. They're actually not wax at all. They're silicone. And that's what I used for the little seal here. And it says love. And then I had some Graphic 45 flowers, and these were the Precious Pink, which is a really nice peachy pink, and so it just really complemented the paper. On the spine, I just put on some dangles. I put on, it looks more orange in the video, but a peach tassel, a green tassel, even though it looks blue to you. And then I have the gold one, and I had this wonderful little rose that just matched, once again, the colors so perfectly. You might notice the shine that's on this. I did use some Tonic Studios, oh golly, the Clear Nouveau, Crystal Nouveau drops, just to kind of strengthen that up. I had this die that says Memories in my stash, and so I put that on there. And I think the cover just turned out beautifully because you can see the little polka dots in the cross hatching with that contrasting color. It just looks gorgeous. You want to make sure when you're gluing your pages that they don't slip on you as they're drying, because they can. So see, I have every page. Here's the little booklet that I showed you that I was making before. It just opens up and put a picture, some journaling, whatever one would want to put in there. And then I made some pocket pages. I just took that largest layering die and cut it down, and then made my page for my little tag here. And the reason that I put the pocket over on the right hand side is so that if I had pictures, it's going to sound obvious to a lot of you, but you know, some people, they don't get it right away. Me. If I put a picture in here and I were to close the book up and then, you know, turn it, it might fall out. So that just holds them down. And then, of course, my waterfall page that I showed you that I had made earlier. I did make tags. I used my tiny attacher. And then I had this wonderful, wonderful peach-colored, seam binding, I guess is what it is, that I had gotten from the Lawrence craft store out in Lawrence, Kansas. And it's just perfect, absolutely perfect for the color scheme. And then I put this little tiny bow there. And I made one of those for each pocket. I think I said in the beginning that I had cut the spine piece 3 times. That's not true. I cut it 4 times. This has 8 pages in it. So I really apologize for that, but you need to cut that one spine piece 4 times, you know, the one that makes the little hinges, and then you'll have 8 pockets total. And I don't know if you're interested in just looking really briefly. The pages are pretty plain from there on, because that's the way I want to do it. And then I have, on the very last page, I have a pocket page. So this would hold 18 photos if I use the inside front covers. And then I thought, just for fun, I have this little white bunny. And oops, I kind of want to put the bunny on there. See, that's with the white bunny. And then I have a gold bunny somewhere. I have lost my gold bunny. Oh dear. Well, anyway, I really like the bunny, but I don't know if you like the bunny. So let me know in the comments below if you think I should add my bunny to the album or if you think it detracts from the album. That's why I haven't added him yet, because I wasn't sure how he was going to look. Anyway, I hope you buy this die. I love it. I think it is so elegant. It is so beautiful. I am really pleased with this album. I wasn't quite sure, how I was going to like it when I started it, because the colors are not really colors that I normally tend to use. However, the Stamp 'em Up collection that I used was this paper pack, and it's called You're a Peach Designer Series paper. I used that, and then I used the coordinating green that went with it, and then they had kind of a peachy pink color that coordinated, which is what this is. And I used a whole package of the green because I did mess up and cut extra pages, and I used almost half a package of this peach color. For the decorative paper, the designer series paper, I used every single piece except 1.5. I have 1.5 sheets left. So that's something you might want to keep in mind. And the designer series pack is 12 by 12, and it has, how many pages? It has 12 pages in it. So I used 10.5 12 by 12 designer series papers. The cardstock was 8.5 by 11, and like I said, I did use a whole pack and a half of that. Anyway, give this album a try. It's beautiful, it's perfect for beginners, and it just looks elegant. Look at that. I really am pleased with this. I think it's beautiful. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.